Hi, this is The Recovering Perfectionist. I'm Claire Barton and you're in the right place at the right time. If you're starting to feel like some of your perfectionism is really getting in the way of you moving forward, getting started or finishing anything, this is absolutely the right show for you. This is rehab for your perfectionism, baby, so grab yourself a glass of wine or a cuppa and let's get stuck into it. Hi everyone, it's Claire at The Recovering Perfectionist, and I've got the amazing Trudi Pavlovsky, who's a multi-passionate about content creation, course building and mentoring coaches, amongst about a zillion other things. So thank you so much for coming on today, Trudi. I'll hand over to you to do a bit more of an articulate version of who you are and what you do.
Well, as we discussed, I'm not modest. I think I'm pretty awesome.
Awesome. I think you're pretty awesome too, by the way.
Thanks. But I've got a massive creative streak and I really love serving and supporting people. And I do that professionally through coaching, through supporting coaches to be better coaches and to help people leverage their time and their skills and their experience by organizing their amazing knowledge and putting them into really connected, well-crafted, client outcome-driven courses online.
It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. And I'm having a chat with you about mine next week, actually. So
I know. I'm pretty excited about that.
Watch this space. I can't wait to pick your brains about all of that sort of thing. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on. And I'm interested to delve into a little bit about your past before we go into all the other stuff about perfectionism and that sort of thing. So I've heard from you that you had another business before this one and there were some major lessons learnt and some major reflections that you're doing at the moment. So talk us through all that stuff.
Okay. Well, my former business is called the Dream Initiative, and I have so much to be grateful for with that business because everything that I do now, the seeds were planted and the skills were developed in that. So what it was actually a youth training business focused on supporting teenagers into becoming confident, balanced, successful adults. And we did this through a combination of online programs and experiential games-based training. So that's where people might have seen me dress up as different characters and tap into different archetypes. So all of that's come from games-based training. Now, it was an interesting business and there was quite a few lessons. One of the biggest lessons I took from that was getting stuck on following somebody else's model as the only way that you can do your business. I had a business partner as well who was very much, no, we need to do it this way because this is how our mentor does it. And when it wasn't working, and when I wanted to make changes, was very resistant because very focused on you have to have proof and evidence that it's going to work.
Right.
Even though intuitively I knew in my gut and I knew in my heart that if we made some key changes, the business would have been able to thrive. We were also caught in a space of somebody's marketing model that was the only way that you could market. So before I discovered connecting with people, like really connecting with people.
You can't do marketing if you're connecting, can you?
Oh my gosh, like being human. It was very much a Facebook ads only driven thing where it was get on the phone and sell. And if people didn't buy your programs in the first go, burn them, get rid of them. It was very aggressive. What I noticed, look at on a reflection, there was some levels of manipulation in that process as well. It was very expensive. In 1 year, we spent $12,000 on Facebook ads.
Right.
And and also investing in costumes and building games. It was a very expensive business to run. One of the biggest lessons I got was that became a part of my identity, and people were like, you are games-based, you are saving teenagers, you are that person, whereas my business is what I do. It's not who I am. And while I love my business, taking it on board as my identity of who I was made it, when it wasn't working and when the business relationship wasn't working and when everything was falling down and when the blocks to changing it and came up, I still hung on to it. And realistically, that business probably could have been let go 18 months to 2 years sooner, would have potentially saved me a lot of money, a lot of time. I don't regret it because of the skills and everything that I learned from doing it, but not being able to trust your gut, not being able to experiment with processes and evolve, and being very rigid in how it had to play out and how it had to be set up and work, that stopped the growth and really caused a lot of financial stress as well. And in that business, the whole time that I was doing it, I was actually supplementing my income, hosting trivia. I was a retail trainer. I ran some adult training with the games-based training as well. So it's something that I've noticed a lot of people seem to think that after, a year in business, you should be able to be fully self-sufficient and supported. After 8 years in business, this is the first financial year where I haven't had another job. So, being able to relax on the rules and the rigidity that everybody else puts in on, you must have, you should, you have to, this is how it has to be and how it has to play out and look. In the last 14 months, I've created a business that's really starting to thrive now, and I've taken a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B, and I'm trusting my own gut around what I'm actually doing and how things are evolving.
Love it.
But it's just being able to relax and go, that's not working for me. I'm going to do it this way. Or I'm going to test and measure and see what works and have fun with it.
I want to come back to that. I want to come back to the experimentation thing, because I'm a massive believer in that sort of trust the process. But I also agree it has been a process, and I've only got here because I've gone through the process. But I want to come back to that. But first of all, I just want to go back to when you said that your business wasn't you. Like, it was your business, there was your business, and there was you. And this is a really interesting one for me, because there's kind of the two polar opposites of the spectrum of people who are kind of saying, this is me and this is my business and we're separate. And then there's other people at the other end saying, I am my business. That you are your business, especially with solopreneurs and that sort of thing. And I'm not really sure where I sit with it, because both kind of have their merits, and and I totally understand with what you're saying is, if and when there are those hard days in your business, if you completely have aligned your identity to that business, you're going to feel like you have also kind of stuffed up, or there's mistakes and that sort of thing.
For me, when it was at the thing where people were like, you can't stop what you're doing, even though it was detrimental to me financially, it was detrimental to my mental and emotional health. When parents wouldn't sign their children up, even though there was a huge need for them, whether it was coaching or working with me, I was taking that personally. I believe that if you take the results of your business as a personal failure, that's where there's an issue. If you can look at your business and go, okay, this is what I do to make money. It satisfies my soul. I love seeing my client outcomes. I love helping people. But at the end of the day, if I decide that this isn't what I want to do anymore, I can walk away, and that's okay. That's good. But if people come up to me and say, all you are, Trudi, is a course designer. You help people build courses, or you mentor coaches, and that's all you do. When all of a sudden that's this only space in which I can operate, to me that's detrimental, because it blocks the creativity, it blocks the flow, it blocks the ability to experiment and branch out. And if you want to change, if you turn around and go, I've got what I need from this, I don't want to do it anymore. But if you can't walk away because people are shaming you, and that was a huge problem with what I did. I felt shamed that I wanted to leave, that I was letting people down, and I'd become a martyr to my business.
Crazy. Yeah. And it's so true of people
by
who
the
are
end of it, I was
even
at breakdown burnout point, because I was working other jobs. I was scattered all over the place. The rejection of parents not wanting to put their kids in the program because it was I'd identified it, this is who I am, it became so personal.
Yeah.
That's where I have the concerns about people embodying it as this is all of me.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's a part of who you are and what you do, but we have so many levels and so much more to us.
Yeah.
That's my experience. You know,
Beautiful.
everyone has their own
definitely
sort of
agree.
thing.
And I think we probably culturally kind of get stuck in that thing, whether it's a business or a job or something, that, you know, when you meet a new person, it's one of the first things that you ask and are asked usually. Hi, what's your name? What do you do? Like, that's the thing. But it's not what do you do as a person, it's where do you make your money? That's really what the question is.
It's what you do to make money or what you do to fill your time.
And there's such a social thing about that, isn't it? Which is a bit disappointing, I guess, in some ways. So, yeah, I really get what you're saying. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's
awesome.
just a perspective. So.
Yeah, no, I really like it. I really like it. I totally get it. And so we'll just go back a little bit to the experimentation, because I've been talking a lot about this recently. And I'm also, I guess, like I said, trust the process has been my favorite hashtag for the last 6 months or so, because I've really sort of noticed that, you know, in the first year or so of business, every time there's an up, I'm like, woohoo, I'm winning, this is amazing. And then it's always followed by a really distinct low. And then it's like, oh, I hate my life. I hate my business. This is crap. This isn't working. I'm just going to go and do something else, all that sort of thing. But then, you know, once that happens enough times, you kind of go, oh, okay, that's just the process. That's just what's happened. I'm up here, so I'm going to be down there in a minute, and then I'm going to be up there again, and that's okay. Like, it's just that process, right? But you can't get okay with the
identity,
process.
I think, around, you know, if you're identifying your work as, you know, oh, I've failed. It's like, I look at it now and I go, okay, well, I've implemented something. It didn't work. So there was something in what I created that didn't work. That doesn't mean that the idea wasn't valid or it doesn't have merit. Maybe I've launched something at the wrong time. Maybe it's the wrong price point. I've got the choice now. If something didn't work, maybe I can tweak it, or maybe I can go, I'll put that on the shelf for later, or maybe I'll just like trash it and put it in the bin. But I don't sit back now, because it's that whole perfectionist thing going, oh my gosh, will it work? Will it not work? Like, what if I launch it and nobody buys it? Or what if I do this thing? And it's like, because it's that wanting to make it perfect and wanting to know that this thing is going to work because it's who I am, and if it doesn't work, it's personal, it's a rejection. Taking that emotion out of it and loving what I create and loving what I do, but just knowing maybe not everyone else is going to love it. I did a soft launch of a course. Nobody bought it. I'm still going to finish building it because I'm doing it just as much for me as for everyone else. But maybe I didn't put enough energy into it, or the timing wasn't right. Like, I'm not going to sit back and go, nobody wants to buy Good Girl stories. Oh, I failed. It's like, I just need to promote it better. Maybe I need to charge more for it because people think at a low end it doesn't have the value. I don't know. But test and measure, see what works, play with it. Like,
so true.
I've just brought so much more fun back into my work now, my business, and just pulling off those little pressure points that I put on myself. And now it's not personal. It's not, oh, that failed. It's like, oh, I'll do something else.
Yeah. And I think that's such a big thing. When I think about perfectionism for me, and I think for a lot of people, that it's sometimes perfectionism is not finishing a thing because you're always trying to do more, right? But sometimes it's not getting started because you're not exactly sure what the end product exactly looks like, and how many, like if you use an example of a course, like I want to do a course, but I don't know how many weeks it should be. I don't know what the content should be. I don't know if I should do slides, or if I should do live calls, or if it should be in person, or blah, blah, blah. Like, there's 5 million variables in everything, especially something like an online course. And the more you kind of try and overanalyze and you know, try and work out exactly what to do, it just prolongs the actual getting started and trying
Hype
things.
yourself up, you get
fear, and
like,
it's just it's a real shame. I think it's such a shame, because then there's all these people who are missing out on that awesome thing. And if you're truly following the energy and you truly believe in it and you truly think there's value in it, you just have to get started. Like, no matter what that looks like, is to just get started and try it out and do like mini versions of it. It doesn't matter.
Use your brain. One of the biggest things is, and I love learning how the brain works. And when I got taught this, I was like, oh my gosh. The reason we go into overwhelm, or we get afraid, or we don't take the action, is quite often it's our hindbrain, because we haven't decided on that first couple of steps. the hindbrain's going, well, I don't know what this is. I'm afraid of this. I'm uncertain. I'm gonna, because I can't keep you safe because I don't know what your first actions are. I'm going to get you to watch Facebook instead, or scroll through Facebook for 3 hours. Quite often, that's one of the things. If you think of something that you want to create, you put your hand on your heart and go, okay, is this what I really want to do? And your heart will go, yeah, this is it. You've got to get the idea filtered through the 3 levels of your mind to be able to actually take the action on it. Now, the first thing, your hindbrain is designed to keep us safe from big shaggy animals back in the cave days. So if you get an idea, write it down, because your hindbrain deletes 9 out of 10 of your ideas anyway. So as soon as you think of something, write it down. Then start creating an image in your mind. So your hindbrain is like, oh, what's this thing? Start thinking of the first step. Start creating an image of how it could look when it's done, because the midbrain's all about pattern matching and it's all very visual and imagery. So then by the time the idea gets up to the high brain, like your neocortex, it's like, okay, cool. Like, we know we're okay to do it. We've got a bit of an idea of how it looks. We've got a couple of steps. Let's start completing the action and create all the steps and create the goal. Because most people go to logic brain first, but if you haven't passed it through your hindbrain, you don't have an image of it, any goal, anything that you want to do is just going to be 10 times harder to create. When I learned, it's like, and you can put your hand on your gut, because, so much starts in our gut. And I'm doing a lot of study around, gut health and stuff as well. Hand on your heart, write the idea down, think of those first few steps, the first few things you need to do in the first 24 hours to get that idea moving. Boom. Then all of a sudden you get an image of it and your brain's going, oh, okay, cool. So it's just working those levels in the way that we're not taught to do, because we're taught to set goals very logically.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's so good. I know I've chatted with so many people about this kind of following the energy and listening to your intuition, or whatever you call it, and that sort of thing. And it just makes so much sense when you talk like on the physical and scientific side of it. It's actually a thing. It's not just joining. Yeah, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Now I want to keep moving. So when you and I were chatting about what to talk about, because we knew we wanted to talk, but we kind of couldn't work out an actual topic. You started throwing out words like schemas and perturbation, and I was like, yep, done, that'll do. But I don't really know what those things are. So do you want to talk us through those concepts they pertain to perfectionism?
I learned about perturbation for the first time. It's probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. And, we live our lives in our little comfort zone. We're here. And then when we push against our comfort zone and we're about to break through and do something new, we get this feeling. It's like butterflies. We might feel sick. We get the sweaty palms. Our temperature will break out into a sweat. And perturbation is this feeling that quite often we identify as stress and and pressure, and it's bad, and it's like my body's responding to this new thing, and I feel like this feeling is freaking me out. But when we look at it as like, okay, when we get this feeling, we're in a space where if we can find a way to just push through, we're going to have a breakthrough. We're going to change. We're going to push through our comfort zone, and we're going to transform. And so like trans meaning change, form meaning shape. So we change shape. We become a new person, a new level of being. And once we've expanded that comfort zone, it doesn't go back. But most people, when they feel this feeling, they feel it like it's a warning, or something bad is going to happen, or it's stressful, and they sort of like run back to their comfort zone. So I don't know, have you ever done a tandem skydive, right?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay, I've done a tandem skydive. It's the best thing ever. But you're strapped to this guy and he's behind you, and he's like, it's your turn, getting close to your turn, you're getting ready to jump out of the plane, and your hands are sweaty and you're freaking out and you're going, what am I doing? You look out and you're literally like, oh shit,
I'm crazy.
And then you get pushed out, right? It's like that. All of a sudden you're like free falling through the air, and it's just this, and you're only free fall for like 10 seconds, but feels like forever. And it's it is a life-changing experience. Like I look at perturbation like that. Like it's a tandem skydive. You can turn to the guy and go, no, I don't want to do it. But, you know, he's just going to push you out anyway. So you need to find a way to push through that comfort zone and break through and transform.
So is this what some people call up-leveling?
Up-leveling, you know, pushing through your upper limits, you know, that ties into the schemas as well. But it's being willing to push through that stress feeling to take the action to change your life and to not stay in your comfort zone.
Which is scary,
and when you embrace it and you go, okay, this is, I've got to find it. And that's where it's like, you know, when I teach perturbation to my clients, we talk about having a coach, having somebody to be that person behind you to push you through if you can't do it on your own. I honestly believe everyone needs to have a coach or a mentor or somebody to help them through that.
Totally.
But yeah, it's that recognizing that's the feeling of a champion about to change their life.
And would it be right to say that, you know, the more you do that, the more you push through, the easier it becomes, or the less uncomfortable it becomes?
I think
because you kind of know the difference between stress and up-leveling, between danger and actually something cool being on the other side.
I don't know if it's easier, but when I hit that point, I have an awareness, and it's not like me going, oh, I'm scared, I'm going to run away. It's like, oh, hang on. I think I actually posted it on my Facebook page the other day. It's like I'm feeling some perturbation. I feel like there's something's changing. I haven't quite identified what it is yet, but I feel like there's an up level about to happen. So when you can identify it and you're aware of it, you're less likely to run away from it. Don't know if it makes it easier, but you can, at least you can reach out and get the help and support.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I think, you know, knowledge and awareness is the key to change.
Yeah. And so if we filter that down to people who would identify as a perfectionist, or someone who's kind of, you know, trying to feed their inner perfectionist but also get shit done.
Stop it!
Like what's the thing? When you get to that point and you've kind of got that gut feeling like, oh, this is a bit scary, like I can see the other side of the glass wall but I just can't quite kind of get there, and I'm just gonna add a few more bits to this, or I'm just gonna rehash this whole thing or whatever. What sort of advice, like with people who you work with, I'm sure you come across 1,000 perfectionists as well, and when they're getting to that kind of up level, what sort of advice do you give them, or what sort of exercises do you give them to do to kind of
to be able to keep moving forward?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first thing is being able to identify it. Talking to someone. So like if somebody's got an opt-in or a course, or like one of my students is like, I've kind of done my course, but I'm not quite ready to launch yet. Hang on a second. Where are you at? What have you done?
Right.
Let's talk through it. That's where, like I said, having a coach is going to help push you through. But there's things that you can do for yourself, like a really simple writing activity. And this is something one of my mentors, Benjamin Harvey, taught me, but I think he got this from Dr. John DeMartini. It's not my original thing. I'm a huge believer in credit source.
Obviously.
But it's write yourself a list before you go to bed of 100 reasons why you deserve to do whatever this thing is that you're holding back on doing. So let's just say it's launching your course. 100 reasons why you deserve to launch this course. So I deserve to launch this course because I've worked 8 hours on it, 20 hours on it. It's going to help people. It's going to do this. Or 100 reasons why I'm allowed to launch my course. So what you're actually doing, and you write this before you go to bed, and you write non-stop. I'm an overachiever sometimes, so I aim sometimes to do 150 things. But the reason you I know, recovering
overachiever. Yeah.
But the reason you do that is because what you're actually doing is you're helping rewire the neural pathways in your brain. So you've got this pathway that's going, I don't deserve this, or I'm not allowed to do this, or this, whatever it is that's stopping you. And by writing this and writing nonstop for an hour, you're actually rewiring the pathway, because the hand and head connection, you write until your hand aches. And if you have to write the same reason 100 times, you write it, but you write all of these reasons because you're rewiring your brain to say that you're actually allowed to do it, that it's okay, that you're worthy, that whatever the thing is that you're not doing, why you're actually allowed to do it. And the pain that you get from writing is telling your brain that this is important. It needs to pay attention. And you write for an hour, like 100, 150, minimum of 80, but I always encourage people to do more, just to be sure. And then you read it out loud to yourself. So then you've got the visual, the audio, you feel it, like it's this whole embodiment thing of like the neural pathways, the physical, the cellular, and then you go to sleep and you have that in your brain, in your head when you go to sleep. Then you wake up in the morning and you read that list again, and then you go and take action.
Yeah, right. Oh, I love it. I'm going to start doing that.
it's so simple, but sometimes it's the simple things that actually can help you the most. It doesn't have to be complicated, but then if you need someone to review, get someone to look at what you're doing, and then someone objective, somebody not just the neighbor down the street, but get somebody who knows their stuff. Because if you give something to someone who's not your niche or not trained, and they all of a sudden they're going to give you all their feedback as well, it's just going to spiral you down.
That's so helpful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I used to do that. I've learnt the hard way.
Yes.
So yes, that's my take on it.
Awesome. No, I really like that tip. I'm definitely going to give that a try. So now tell me about schemas. I don't know that it doesn't look like a totally unfamiliar word, but I have no idea really what it means. So tell me about schemas and how they get triggered and what they hold you back from.
So I had a mentor who used to go and see a therapist, and she came back and she shared these with us. And some people know them as upper limits, some people know them as maladaptive schemas, but we'll call them upper limits because that's what most people identify them as. And there's a particular kind of upper limit, and then there's a trigger phrase. So if you say these things to yourself, you know that you're being you have this schema and you need to work through it. So I'll go through them really, really quickly. I do have some ebooks on them that I can share with people if they want to know a little bit more.
Yeah, cool.
Or read the Big Leap by Gay Hendricks as well. But burden's an upper limit. So you push against this feeling of burden, and if it's I don't want to be a burden on other people, you have a burden schema. If you say that a lot, if you don't ask for help because you don't want to inconvenience anyone, and if you're not asking for help and it's detrimental to your own work, it's an issue that you need to address, because most people are happy to help. People ask me questions, I'm happy to help, but if people don't ask, I can't. We then have disloyalty and abandonment. And a lot of entrepreneurs have to work through this, because if you're saying things to yourself like, I have to conform to the standard of my family, wanting or doing more than what they do, it's a betrayal of them. If you go to family outings and people say to you, oh, well, you've got your own business, you've got heaps of money, or, you work too much in your business, we never see you. Those kinds of things can trigger you to actually shrink in your work. And because unconsciously, we're human, we're designed to be connected in with that family unit. That back in the day, the survival on your own was a lot harder. So we want to stay connected to, whether it's our biological family or our friendship circles. One of the biggest things I had when I started my first business, I had no money, so I couldn't go out with my friendship circle, and they all got really aggressive. And I ended up leaving that friendship circle because felt like I was constantly being punished for wanting to follow my dreams. So I don't have a huge disloyalty and abandonment schema. I'm like, I'm just doing my thing, deal with it, or
bye, Felicia.
Yeah, but a lot of people have that, and there's that push-pull around, how much can I talk about or do, or, I love my mum and she still asks me when I'm getting a job. So, but I still keep doing my thing, So I don't have that schema. Then there's reliance. So if you don't think you can do your business without following everyone else's rules, without checking in with somebody all the time, like where you can't even make a small decision without checking in with someone, you have a reliance schema. That's detrimental to your business, because if you're missing opportunities because you can't make a decision fast, that's going to hurt you. We have fundamentally flawed. Now, most people have some sort of level of this schema. And if you're saying to yourself, there's something wrong with me, I can't do this, what am I doing? Oh my gosh. Like, if you're constantly beating yourself up, that's fundamentally flawed. Like, if you think that there is something wrong with you, like, even if you're like, oh, what am I doing this business for? I can't do this. Like, everyone else can do it better. I'm just, you know, that little voice can come in sneakily and undermine us. But when you're aware that it's a schema, like, then you're like, oh, hang on, you know what? I can actually do this. I am doing this. Look at how much I've already done. Yeah. I'm just going to do the thing. Then you can work through that. And then the final one, and I am going through these really fast because I am aware of time. Yeah. There's tension. So if you're tense or you're stressed and you're like, well, I'm uncomfortable with this situation, so everybody else around me has to conform and like support me in this and manage that. Like, if tension is having a negative impact on yourself and around people around and your relationships around you, then it's a problem. But if something's going wrong and not working and you're like, and then all of a sudden people are scared to even speak to you, that's going to have an impact as well, especially on your personal relationships. Yeah. And going into tension can also trigger burden or disloyalty or like reliance. And, you know, tension's a big one to be aware of. So like with all my clients, I'm like, if you're not able to manage your stress, all of the other things can kick in. So it's really important to, you know, even if you just meditate for 5 minutes in the morning or 10 minutes and just get used to being in that space, all of a sudden your other schemas, you can step into the moment, the present time, and start managing them. Yeah. And there's other ways to deal with them. But I think, like I said earlier, awareness is the key. And if you find you're not taking action, or you feel you have to ask people, or you're really doubting yourself, or you can't talk about your business to your family and it's potentially impacting your results, being aware of those things is the first step to being able to say, hey, hang on, is this a real situation? Yeah. Or am I stepping into a schema because of something that maybe happened in my past and now I've embodied it and taken it on board that this is how all of these situations are? Yeah. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I was just going to say, it sounds like something that's pretty complex, and there's lots of facets to it, and there's lots of ways that it can show up, and kind of like a personality testing, I suppose, all those sorts of things. You know, you kind of need someone who really understands the whole framework of it to kind of guide you through where, you know, some of those issues might be for you and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's really interesting. And like you said, it's probably known as lots of different things, and there's probably a bit of overlap, I feel, with inner critics and that sort of thing, like how the inner talk and the self-talk kind of
I haven't about that. Studied a lot around inner critics, but I imagine that from what I've read, it's that whole, especially the fundamentally flawed stuff and
interesting. I chatted with Liz Scarf about inner critics on the podcast way back in the beginning, and it was really interesting. But I just noticed that some of the self-talk that you were just talking about that might have come up underneath some of those schemas are kind of similar to the inner critic self-talk that you might hear about the why am I doing this? You can't do this. You're going to fail. You always fail, this sort of thing, like all those kind of different personalities within your inner critic. So it kind of aligned with the schemas. Really interesting. I love it. So my mind is just completely blown up by perturbation and beautiful words for up-leveling and breaking through glass ceilings and all that thing. So I've really enjoyed that chat, actually. I hope it hasn't been too overwhelming for people, because I think there's so much
fascinating person.
You really are a fascinating person. You are a very interesting person. You're
a student of life.
And
see, there's no fundamentally flawed schema here.
You're schmick.
I used to not be like that. Did you have it?
Though.
I used to be the most shyest, modest, can't talk about myself person. But to be online, to share your message, to connect with people, you need to be able to move past those schemas, past the perturbation, past the imperfect fear of taking action if things aren't perfect, because that's how you get seen and get your message out.
Exactly.
And we need to get our message out.
Exactly. And I think if we like filter it right down to the online business world, it's kind of that's the first step that really gets through to whatever the next level is, through that perturbation, I suppose, is that getting visual. And it's the scariest one for so many people, about showing their photo, using their name, saying things like I
all
and
the
me instead of
judgment
we
that
and
comes
us,
with putting a
sort of
selfie up.
Yep.
And
yeah,
I used to be really scared of my ex seeing what I was doing, my former business partner and my former mentors, because I'm not connected with them at all anymore. And that was my choice, to just totally cut the ties. And for the first six months or so last year, like, I was small. I was playing large in the groups, but on my business page, no. On my, what if they see? And then it was kind of like, so what if they see?
Yeah.
Who cares? Like, do they actually really care? Like, the people that love me will love what I do, and the people that don't love me will unfollow or block.
Exactly. See ya.
But it's a process to get there.
It is
and
a process.
I totally get it.
It's a process,
even I
and
went
it's
through
experiment.
it, and people are probably a bit surprised because I'm very confident online. But
did you say you're an introvert?
It's a process, and if I can do it, everyone can do it, because I am by nature an introvert.
Yeah, I am too, and I'm the same. Like, I'll say to my friends that I'm an introvert or whatever, and they're like, "What? No, you're not," because I'm always talking and I'm always laughing and I'm quite outgoing and I come across quite confidently. But yeah, I'm total introvert. But there's different.
But inner circle is very different to
when you've got
the big wide internet.
Exactly. So awesome, fabulous chatting with you. How can people find out more and follow you? We'll obviously put all of your links in show notes. But how can people get in touch with you and find you? I mean, it shouldn't be too hard to find you, but
probably
the best place to be.
Yeah, I'm pretty much everywhere in groups on Facebook. But just probably the easiest thing is to go to Trudi Pavlovsky Official on Facebook. So that's my business page. Updating my website needs a bit of love. So yeah, come find me on Facebook.
Awesome.
That's the most fun. You'll see me do crazy live videos and weird offers, and just my personal and my professional life have merged. So yeah. You can stalk me there. I'm on LinkedIn. Like, just put my name in, I'll come up.
We'll stalk you. We'll
find
stalk you
me where
everywhere.
you want to find me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Trudi. It's been awesome chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
Kind of blown my mind, and I just want to go away and process it all. I'm actually recording a webinar in about an hour's time, so I need to get into that space.
Meditate,
but I can't wait to just kind of take it all in and try and work out what my schemas might be, and then probably get back in touch and cry on your shoulder about it or something. Seriously, kidding,
I'm always here. So
awesome. All right,
you know where to find me.
I sure do. Thanks, Trudi. Bye.
Thanks, Claire. Bye.